All right. Very competitive practice. I think you look back on our 4 losses, and as everyone knows, they've all kind of come down to the last drive. And good teams finish, and you have to create that environment in practice. And we try to do it all the time. But this week we put an added emphasis on it. Competitive periods between the ones and finishing. Just really you get what you emphasize, and so you can't emphasize everything, obviously, but a big emphasis on finishing this week. So hopefully it pays off. Those 4 losses, like I said, they all came down to us not being able to either make a play or close out a game, and so that's a point of emphasis.
How did they do in that aspect of the execution, finishing in practice?
I thought it was extremely competitive. See, the thing about practice when you're going ones versus ones is somebody wins and somebody loses.
Right,
So
right.
what I'm looking for is the competitiveness and the fight and the intensity and things like that. And I thought it was excellent. I thought it was very, very good.
The changes you're making in the running game, how did they look in practice this week?
Well, I mean, like I said earlier in the week, I mean, there's changes, but you make changes every week. There's nothing that is dramatic. It's just tweaks, and overhauls, and trying to account for the fact that we've had to make some changes up front on the offensive line, with Colton being out, and some of the issues that we've had, at the guard position with guys. So, like I said, it's more kind of reining things in. And putting emphasis where it needs to be put at this point, and like I said, you're doing that through the year. You're continually modifying during the year. So, the hope is that the things that we've done will help us be successful Saturday against a really good Utah front. I mean, they're really good, So if we can have some success against them, then I think that, that shows that we're making progress in that area, which is, like I've said many times, it's the one area of our football team that's held us back, is not being able to run the ball consistently.
You mentioned those losses, those 4 losses being, coming in that final drive.
Yeah.
How much has that helped in keeping these guys believing?
It's funny, they're resilient. I think at this age, you're just resilient. I don't think they ever lose hope. I think they get discouraged. We all do when you work so hard and you come so close, but you're not able to get it done. You get discouraged. But I think the most important thing is you overcome that discouragement and you find out the reason. You delve into the reason, the actual facts of why it happened, and that's what we try to do. I think if you can keep your mind on that and improve that, then you can get through the discouragement of it. And I think our guys have done a good job. Like I said, they're young guys that they're resilient. This is a different generation than my generation. It's still your generation. It's not my generation. They get over things quickly.
Is that significantly different than how guys in the NFL handle those types of losses?
In the old days, like I said, this generation's a little bit different. It's the world's changing, and so you have to adapt as a coach. But the NFL is wildly different than college football when it comes to performance. You're playing for a paycheck. You're playing for your future. You're playing to put food on the table and shoes on your feet, and pay for diapers and things like that. And if you do not perform, you walk in and your locker's cleared out, and there's a new guy there. Every Tuesday, NFL teams bring in, up to 15 players for workouts. I'm sorry, on Mondays. Mondays or Tuesdays, typically Tuesdays. And those guys are threats to you. You don't do that in college. You're working with a group that still has to worry about studies, and they're working through, personal issues and social issues. So it's just a little bit, I wouldn't say complicated, just different, challenging.
Do you like that aspect more? Or?
I that's a great question. I do, yeah, I do, and I don't. But I do when I get to see these guys go through adversity and have success. It's like adversity. I was thinking about this last night when I was coming out of meetings. I absolutely love it because it reveals who you are, and it gives you an opportunity to challenge yourself. And I want all of those to understand that, because that's what life's all about. But at the same time, I don't like losing games. I don't like losing games at all, and they don't like losing games. So it's a catch-22.
Josh is physically here today. Seems like a nice development potentially.
Potentially, you're like you are persistent. We'll see. You know, I mean, like I don't think we'll know until Saturday. You know, I just don't think we'll know until Saturday. Unfortunately, I mean, I shoot as much as you want to know, and your readers want to know. I promise you, I want to know. I promise you, our team wants to know. So, you know, we're just kind of like you, just hoping and I don't know if you're hoping, but we're hoping and crossing our fingers that he's able to play on Saturday.
Colton, did you get those X-rays?
We did, but I haven't heard anything, so he won't be available this week. I can go ahead and just rule him out. I mean, it's not a surprise he hasn't played and he hasn't been out here. So.
Are there any sorry.
Go ahead. No.
Are there any benefits to Josh seeing things from a different perspective last week?
No, I think the best thing you can do is play. I really do. I think if there's a benefit, it's that if you're competitive, then and you're not out there helping your team, then you know, maybe it inspires you to dig a little deeper in your treatment or something, but there's only so much you can do. But in terms of learning the game, the best way you learn the game is by playing the game during the game, you know. So I think any benefit would be more psychological than actually physical. That's my opinion.
You mentioned the issues at guard. What's just trying to find the right mix and match of guys there?
Yeah. You know, we lost some guys last year, really, our two starting guards and starting center. We lost the interior three with Jake and Caleb and Alex, you know, and so putting that back together has proved to be just a little bit more challenging. As the season has gone on than it seemed that it was going to be during spring or the fall camp. They're working incredibly hard. They're trying their best. I mean, those guys, they non-stop workers. But it's, you know, there's a synergy that has to develop, and we've struggled to develop that synergy at this point.
What did you think of putting Joshua Roboco in?
What did I think of it?
Yeah.
I think that he is a young man that's physical. He really wants to play. It was his first real game experience, like real-time game experience, not mop-up. I think he made some good plays, and there's some things that he has to do better. Seen him come out to practice and really address it, and hopefully, you know, he takes another step this week. He's got a tremendous challenge this week. This, like I've said many times, this front, I shouldn't say front because front discounts what's a really good secondary too. They've got a really good defense. You know? So it's going to be a heck of a defensive battle, I hope. That's what I foresee, you know, because we're playing pretty well on defense too.
Austin really struggled last week in terms of punching the ball. How do you think he's responded this week?
He's a young guy that has a lot of pride, and he's very hard on himself. He's very, very, very hard on himself. It's really funny. He reminds me of Steve Young. I'm just going to throw that out there. Steve Young was a guy that, you know, it wasn't unusual for him to vomit before practice, before games, because of the tension that he felt. He knew he was going to have to handle the ball every snap, yet he went out and he's a Hall of Famer, obviously one of the all-time greats. Austin has a little of that. He's really hard on himself. And so part of the thing with Austin is to get him to take a breath and just relax and remember that he loves to punt and he's a damn good punter. You know, we talked about that earlier in the week. He came out here in camp and he was booming it and everyone was going, oh, we got a punter. Well, you know, he's a young guy that hit a little dip and we have to help him get back on track. So we're really trying to do that. And everyone's encouraging him.
Sorry, the television cameras caught you kind of getting up in his face, you know, after he has struggled. Does he respond well to that type of?
Was I getting on him or encouraging him? Because there's different ways. You
yeah,
get
no,
in
that's
their
what I'm
face.
asking you about. Like you're very vocal with him. It seemed like you're pretty animated. I mean, does he respond well to, you know, that type of coaching? Is what I'm asking.
It depends what's coming out of my mouth. Okay, let me explain. After the first punt, the 1 yarder, the -1, that's when I really got in his face. I wasn't upset one single bit about the punt. I mean, I was upset about the punt, but I realized those things happen. It came off his foot wrong into the wind, and he's a young guy, and it was bad. The thing that irritated me was that he didn't make an effort to go down there, and the ball was bouncing towards our goal line and knock it out. Okay. So that's what I was talking about there. And then later in the game, it was just, you know, encouraging him. Like a dad would encourage their kid. You love all these guys like they're your children. You just want to see them have success. And sometimes you gotta be a little bit harsher with them than you would like to be, and sometimes you gotta love them up, and you gotta try to help them maneuver their way through some adversity. So,
did he respond well when you had that interaction?
I think he did. I mean, I think that they appreciate the fact, and he appreciates the fact that you care about them and them having success as a person, and that you're not just going to ride their tail when they make a mistake. You know, I think at this age, you have to help them through some things, but you have to be hard on them too. You know, you have to be demanding. So it's just every day is a great challenge. It keeps it fun. But Austin, I think, does respond. I do. I think that he just needs to calm himself down a little bit. He's so hard on himself, you know, and there's no such thing as perfection in a competitive athletic environment. We all know that. I mean, the greatest performers lose sometimes. Maybe Usain Bolt doesn't, but you know, the rest of them do. So anyway.
I think Coach Leach said something about he thought that some of your players were kind of maybe interfering with the snap count on defense. Did that get back to you at all? Do you have
No, we don't
Yeah.
even make any calls on defense.
Okay.
No one's ever that's not part of our like they did. You know how they do the move call and their guys would all shift. We don't. That's not anything we've ever done. Not one single time. So he's saying that he's misinformed.